Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Dining Around. I'm Joel Riddell, broadcasting live from the capital of American gastronomy, San Francisco. And we have done so many things. I've done so many things this week. And we have some great guests coming up on the program today to talk about food, to talk about wine, and a little bit of travel as well. This week was full of interesting things. Last night, I had to check my Facebook page. Can you imagine it? I was like, what did I do last Saturday night? I know I did something. Tim's like, I don't know what you did. I don't know. Tim is our engineer and on-site producer as well, Tim Cruz. So I was looking through the information and reminding myself, oh my God, I went to a fantastic dinner. Our friend Anita, and please, if you're listening, Anita, don't think that I forgot about you. Just was organizing the moments in my brain. She did a beautiful, beautiful Indian spread. And it reminded me of this sort of feeling of and the concept of dinner parties that we throw. I have some friends who are in from New Hampshire, and we're going to have a little dinner with them later on tonight. And considering what to do and how to put a meal together. I noticed a tweet that Brian Boitano had sent out about Giada De Laurentiis. She's talking about the rise of the potluck supper and just the whole idea that we're all so busy and it's okay to say, let's have a buffet style dinner with lots of people, or let's have a potluck style dinner, or let's just make dinner for 4 people. Any of those things. It's delicious. It's wonderful. And I mean, there are great restaurants to be had. We all know that throughout the San Francisco Bay Area. And we have lots of them here on Dining Around. But it is that idea of, if you want to do something at home, don't be daunted by these great, big, crazy tasks, or the great big piece of meat, like the big turkey for Thanksgiving or the great big roast for Christmas. Try at least to organize yourself and try not to get overwhelmed by it. The meal that Anita put together was beautiful. There were many, many different dishes, varying in color and in taste. Chicken curries and vegetables and cauliflowers and pickles, lots of pickles. There's a fellow, Jerry, who was at the table, who arrived, a big smile on his face. There was this enormous dollop of red, shiny stuff. He had missed a little sign underneath that Anita had written saying, "This is very hot." And he was just about to put his fork into it, and somebody else at the table said, do you know what that is? He's like, it's chutney. And they're like, no, it's really, really, really hot pepper. Like it will blow your mind away. So he was safe from that one. Anyway, we all shared bits of it. It was such a delicious and fun meal. We drank gorgeous wines alongside of it. So thank you, Anita John, for putting together such a wonderful dinner. We had a great time. Walked on over. It was the Hardly Strictly Bluegrass Festival last weekend. Rebecca Chapa and friends were all in the park. We walked through the park as it was ending. People just had such a good time. And we're so fortunate to have the Golden Gate Park area, all of the concerts and all of the festivals. I remember a few months ago, I went to the Chipotle Festival. It was called, they called it Cultivate. And Chipotle put together this event with local chefs and a couple of national chefs. Stuart Brioza was there. Michael Chiarello was there. Nathan from Chipotle was there as well. Anyway, there was a whole group with amazing musicians, and they chose the Sharon Meadow place in the park, and they had culinary demonstrations, and they had beans, and they had people, and Min Sai was there. And Min is the owner and CEO with a group of Hodo Soy Beanery. He's like chief cook and bottle washer, but he's not. He has a whole team behind him. And Hodo Soy Beanery had the opportunity to stop by there this week. And the reason I stopped by was that Chipotle has started using Hodo soy tofu in their burritos as sofrita. So they've created a product called sofrita, or worked on a product called sofrita, to be used as a protein within the burritos or within the tacos that they sell at Chipotle. And they tend to use local to the region products, or things that have, well, let's just put it this way. They use Petaluma Dairy for their sour cream. And we got to visit Petaluma Dairy. I visited last year. And they pay so much attention to what goes into the product, how the animals are treated, what happens with it. It's clean and it's dynamic. But the fellow who is the proprietor of Petaluma Dairy was just so excited to have Chipotle as a partner, because there's a co-op of dairies that they use, including his own, and there is a place for this product to go. And they charge a little bit more than other sour creams would, just like with the tofu at Hoda Soy Beanery. It is organic. They pay an enormous amount of attention to it. It's fresh, it's unpasteurized, and it has all of these things that make it such a local and delicious and wonderful product. Now, the beans from Hoda Soy, they don't come from Oakland or Alameda. They do buy them through a co-op in the Midwest. It was explained to us that they did try to grow their own beans, to raise their own soybeans, and they even used a place outside of Sacramento where there are a lot of rice fields, and it just doesn't have the right kind of soil. And he said, it was a losing prospect for what they wanted to grow, for what they wanted to raise. It just wouldn't work out. But they have such a great thing. Anyway, so if you want to check out Hoda Soy is available. Hoda Soy Beanery, they're Ferry Plaza Farmers Market and Whole Foods and Molly Stones and Draeger's and great supermarkets and restaurants as well. Great, wonderful restaurants as well. And it's available at Chipotle here in San Francisco and Seattle and Los Angeles and a few other places. Chipotle has a lot of outlets, and so this product is going to be available at the moment in specific markets, partially because Hodo does not have an enormous production facility. Again, it's a former candy factory in Oakland that they've worked so hard on to put it together. And if you want a tour, you can visit Hodo Beanery. And they'll give you the information about taking a tour. They do some school tours with conversations, this sort of thing. However, you can't go into the production facility. It's small and it's really, really clean, and they're very specific about who goes in. So anyway, maybe we should just go down and talk to Min or one of his people and eat some of their delicious soy. I did lots of other things. We did lots of other things this week. We had lunch with Lorenzo Petroni at the North Beach restaurant. We went to dinner at Fog City. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a minute. A dinner at Poggio with Miramar Torres. But let me tell you who's going to be on the program today. Molly Katzen will join us. She's a teacher. She's an artist. She's an author. A television personality as well. She wrote the Moosewood Cookbook. Now she has her new book, The Heart of the Plate, Vegetarian Recipes for a New Generation, paying attention to how many of us eat a varied diet, how much attention we pay to the products that are available, but also the new availability of grains, the new availability of beautiful vegetables. This is not a nation where you can only get broccoli and cauliflower. There are lots of things that go into our diet on a daily basis. And so this is a beautiful book with many, many recipes, with menus as well, both vegetarian and vegan, and great ideas, and a couple little stories as well. Molly's fascinating, so it's great. Chef Ruth Van Weerbeek is going to join me. She is joining us from Chile. She'll be here in San Francisco. She is Belgic, but lives in Chile and works alongside the Conciliatoro Company. It's a wine company in Chile with varying food and wine concerns, and she is an expert chef in pairing wines and food together from Chile. And we had Gaston Ocurio on the program a few weeks ago from Peru, and he talked all about the multicultural nature of Peru. I mean, these nations have immigration from all over the world. There really is this melting pot that happens in South America, just like here in the United States and Canada as well. And so it'll be great to hear from her what's happening in Chile and what is happening with the wines of Chile and the food with Chile as well. Bruce Hill is going to join us. He's a partner and executive chef of Fog City. Again, I had dinner there this week. It was delicious. And Fog City is completely renovated and newly reopened. And I'll talk to him about that, about the dinner and all that. From Belmont, Davron Kochani is going to join us. He is the proprietor and master distiller of Old World Spirits in Belmont. It's a great company. It's right here on the peninsula. And I'll talk with him about what's coming up with the spirits, what's new, what's old, because it is Old World Distillery. And then finally in the program, we'll speak with Patrick Makuakahani. He's the artistic director of Kumahula Dance Company, and Larry Sato with Eric Tao. We're going to talk about hula. There's a great hula show that's on its way next weekend. So all of that and more right here on Dining Around. Up next, I'll give you a little bit of information about some of the restaurants we dined at and a couple of reports just ahead.
I just came to say hello.
Hey, welcome back to Dining Around. We had some friends in town this weekend. Again, we're having dinner tonight with some friends of ours from New Hampshire, and we're looking forward to that. But we had some friends in town and some work colleagues from Kansas this week, and well, Robert said, Rachel wants to know where we should go for dinner, what we should do for dinner, what's going on, what's the haps. And there are so many wonderful places that are new in the San Francisco Bay Area, and there are some that have been around for a little bit. We decided to go over to Poggio. We live in the city, so we drove over the Golden Gate Bridge, which is great fun for anybody who's from out of town and hasn't done it before. And seeing as some of the places like Alcatraz and Muir Woods are closed, we couldn't, or she hasn't gone over and seen those places as well. And incidentally, I've heard a couple of reports about our national parks and the people who are, saying, anyway, just reports about our national parks. And I heard a report and a conversation with a park ranger who was at a park and trying to get people to not visit. And he was volunteering. And there's a group of people who are volunteering to say, listen, we need to protect our parks. And the reason we're there on a day-to-day basis is that we help to maintain them. We help to educate people, people who are from the United States and all over the world who come to visit our beautiful parks, want to be able to do it the next time they come as well, and the next time. And I remember being a small child and having that experience of walking into a national park and the ranger saying, don't pick up anything, because if you pick up something and everybody else picks up something, there'll be nothing left. And I know that sounds like something you would tell a child, because I was a child when they told me. But the reality is people do that kind of junk. They walk in and they rip up a sapling from the dirt. Not every single person, but they do that. Or they step where they shouldn't because they don't know they shouldn't step there. Or they climb up a great big tall rock because they want a photo from way up high and it looks cool. Or they put their child up there. Kid falls off, breaks his arm, and then there's a whole drama that goes on. I have a lot of respect for the Parks Department, and I have a lot of respect for those rangers and those people who work there. They work hard, and they deal with the public, and we, the public, can be very self-centered. So let's try to give them as much respect as we can, and hopefully they'll be back at work soon, and we'll be able to visit these beautiful places very, very soon. But back to the whole idea of going over to Sausalito, which is an amazing drive. We drove over the Golden Gate Bridge and down into Sausalito, and we visited Poggio. And Poggio is celebrating their 10th anniversary with a series of 10 dinners. The one we chose to take advantage of was a dinner with Marimar Torres. Marimar Torres and the Torres family have wineries in Spain and other places, including Sebastopol. They have a beautiful equestrian facility and a wonderful winery in the Sebastopol, Sonoma area. They have great Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. They have wonderful, very specific plots with specific flavor profiles that they've chosen, that they've worked the land of, and that they pay so much respect to the bottle. When you have a Pinot Noir from Marimar Torres, the way she talks about it, the way she describes it, and she talks about her family. This wine is named for her father. This vineyard is named for her mother. This specific wine is named for her daughter, Christina. There's a passion that goes into the bottle, and she names them for family members because that's how much love she has for the soil. That's how much love she has for the fruit as well. And the quality of her Pinot Noir is glorious, with these wonderful layered characters, and not overbearing, not smack you in the head. Just this kind of, you're sipping and it's delicious. And Benjamin Ballestieri put the menu together with Marimar. There was an antipasto with prawns and roasted sweet peppers and almonds and basil that she served alongside the Chardonnay. And I had the duck breast with confit duck leg and lentils and fig sherry sauce. This dish was perfectly paired together. And it's not something, duck confit is not something that I would naturally think of at a restaurant like Poggio, because it's Poggio Trattoria, it's an Italian themed, and duck confit is something I always think of as a French tradition. It was so glorious and had just the right amount of salt and just the right amount of, just cooked and slow. Oh, so good. Oh, so the three of us, Robert, Rachel from Kansas, and I, we ordered other things from the menu as well. There was a salumi platter that came out. We ordered that, and Rachel very sweetly said, "This is not something we have in Kansas," and I think we kind of take advantage of it. But if you think about it, all of these great artisans who are making salumis, and also Benjamin himself, who makes the salumi there in-house. It just this variety, this array of delicious treats, each with its own individual flavor profile. And you taste, and there's a little bit of pickled vegetable there, and you have a little bit of Chardonnay along with it, or a little bit of Vermentino or something like that. And conversation, and it's gorgeous. And we had a little ensalada mista alongside of it, so we had a little green with our meat as well. And it was this great conversation starter right there in the restaurant with the open fire in the back of the restaurant, and the lovely people around us. Benjamin has the ability to have a great not a farm. He has gardens that are located in Sausalito that he has a gardener who tends. And so the products are just from like very, very close by. Many of the things that you see on the menu are fostered in such a way. It's a lovely restaurant. There'll be other dinners on the way. We enjoyed regular menu items alongside the menu items from the Miramar night. There was a grilled quail that Rachel had. It was completely gorgeous, and a pork sausage that Robert had alongside. So it was just a great harmony of dishes that we had together, and a lot of fun at the restaurant itself. Managed by managing partner is Amy Svenberg. She's delightful, and she seems to always be at the restaurant as well. And Larry Mendel was there, who is the proprietor of the restaurant. But they do have more dinners coming up. You can make a reservation at Poggio Trattoria by visiting PoggioTrattoria.com. It's located at 777 Bridgeway in Sausalito. And it's 332-7771. That's 415-332-7771. That's Poggio Trattoria. Coming up, they're going to have a mayor's night with the mayor of Sausalito. I think that's kind of corny, but they'll have a really good time. Cindy Paulson will be there as well. They're going to have a dinner with Umberto Jabin and Stefan Terrier, who were the opening chef and opening manager, I believe, who now have Perbacco in the city. And they're going to do a wine dinner that has to do with the wines of Piedmont. And then there'll be a truffle dinner as well, and a dinner with Johann Weir. So lots of things. So do visit PoggioTrattoria.com to find out more about those events and to make a reservation for dinner. Up next, we'll talk a little bit more food, wine, and travel. Hi, welcome back to Dining Around. Well, this week I had the opportunity to visit with Lorenzo Petroni of the North Beach restaurant. I gave him a ring and stopped by the restaurant, which is located on Stockton Street in San Francisco's North Beach. I wanted to harass him and say hello and check in with him. There's they opened a new tasting room on the square in Sonoma, in the town of Sonoma, and they have a winery up Cavedale Road. And I thought it was so exciting. I wanted to check in with him to find out more about that. And we ended up waxing poetical about all sorts of things. When you have lunch with Lorenzo, sometimes you eat things from the menu, and sometimes you eat things that are not on the menu, because there are things that sort of show up, and it's like having a special on the menu kind of thing. If there's something fantastic that shows up, you can get it. I chose the halibut. He has wonderful seafood. Halibut with a lemon butter sauce is my main dish. It was gorgeous, and it was light, and it was really, really great with the Chardonnay that we were drinking. But we had some prosciutto and carpaccio to start off with, which is house cured, and put a little bit of olive oil on it, extra virgin from the Petroni property, a little bit of caper, a little bit of purple onion, and it just like a relaxing. I talk quickly, I eat slowly. Let me tell you something, because you want to enjoy each bite, and you want to enjoy the restaurant itself and what's going on in the neighborhood as well. There's always something going on in North Beach. It's exciting. There is going to be the Columbus Day Parade this Monday. It's Sunday. No, it's Monday. It's It's got to be Monday because that is Columbus Day. Whatever. It's going to be a great time. I will not be in attendance at that party, and that's okay. But I know it'll be a great time. We've been a number of times with Lorenzo. Just the excitement of all of the people and the parades that go by and all of the fun. But one of the things that we did have was a dish that included, it was simple, very, very simple. He said fagioli. I thought that was the name of the bean. Hello, Joel. That means bean. I believe they were alberghini beans. Lorenzo said that they brought some over from Italy and they've been propagated in the hills of the Santa Cruz Mountains. And that could be true. It may not be, but they were delicious and simple, very, very simple. A little tomato, a little purple onion, a little bit of olive oil. It's good. It's simple. And I think that whole idea of the perfection of the beans and the perfection of the olive oil and putting this dish together as something that was simple, with a little bit of Chardonnay and a little bit of freshly ground pepper on top, life is good. And it's that kind of moment that you have when you think to yourself, I don't need 17 ingredients in this dish. I just need the best ingredients and only a few of them. It's the North Beach restaurant and a lot of these family establishments. When you have a conversation with Lorenzo, he's like, a lot of some of these things, the salumi, some of these, they seem like they're brand new. And he's like, we've been doing it forever. And some other places have as well. It's like that original concept. The North Beach restaurant is located at 1512 Stockton Street. In San Francisco, it's northbeachrestaurant.com. Check out the tasting room on the square in Sonoma. The town of Sonoma is so beautiful this time of year. It's fun and it's great, and the wines are delicious, and the people are friendly. And I'll have more about Sonoma, the town of Sonoma. We'll talk more about that in the next coming weeks. However, up next, we're going to talk with Molly Katzen, and we'll talk a little bit about her new book, The Heart of the Plate. We'll do that just ahead. Welcome back to Dining Around. I'm Joel Riddell. I'm here in studio in San Francisco, broadcasting live from the capital of American gastronomy, San Francisco. We have so many wonderful places to visit and so many wonderful restaurants to dine at and great wineries and all of that stuff. We have lots of wonderful personalities in the San Francisco Bay Area. And we're fortunate that we have people who explore those places for us that we don't often get to. I'm joined now by James Beard, award-winning author. She's a teacher. She's an artist as well. She's written so many cookbooks, including the Moosewood Cookbook, among others. And she has a new book out. It's called The Heart of the Plate, Vegetarian Recipes for a New Generation. She is Molly Katzen. And Molly, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Joel.
I'm thrilled that you're here today. And I love the book. I'm fascinated by it. I want to first begin off with a bit of a, not exactly history, but things have changed a lot since you wrote the Moosewood Cookbook. How is vegetarian cooking perceived nowadays? How has it arrived?
I think it's been really folded in. I'm thinking folding in the egg whites. I
did it last night.
I know. How'd it come out?
Delicious. We hope.
It used to be really over on the side. Mm-hmm. And now it's moving. It's integrating, I think. I mean, I don't know a single chef who doesn't take great pride and feel even a little competitive about how they prepare their vegetables. It's kind of the thing now that is the mark of the chef. Mm-hmm. And then, I just said the word vegetables, and you said the word vegetarian. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, that's not always the same thing.
Right.
Because for a lot of people, vegetarian just means keep the meat off my plate, mm-hmm. put something else on it. It's not necessarily an embrace of the vegetable. Mm-hmm. And I want it to be. Yeah. That's what I'm trying to pull everyone in.
Well, and you're within the book itself. There are there are lots of recipes, but there's a section that are the vegetarian menus and vegan menus. We went out with our friend Helen Lovekin. Laurent Manrique cooked for us one night at a restaurant. She's a really nice person who has been a vegetarian for a long time and takes groups of people out for dinner often. He made a vegetarian menu for her that he would make for others as well. It was sublime. She was so excited by everything, by the flavors and by the interest, not just a piece of portobello on the side of a plate and a bit of salad. Like, it was thoughtful and it was exciting. Your book, the recipes are thoughtful and exciting.
And they're simple. Mm-hmm. They're much simpler. I'd say one of the things that's changed the most about my cooking since my earlier days in Moosewood, my gosh, it's been decades.
A little while. Yeah.
Okay, a bit of time,
Mm-hmm.
an era. It was very much, first of all, when I wrote that book, there was so far less available. And you couldn't even buy a bottle of good olive oil in a supermarket in this country when I started writing that book. And there were so few vegetables to choose from, especially where I lived in upstate New York in the winter. So my cooking then was very largely hodgepodge, like the mélange, or that's a nice way to say the casserole.
Mm-hmm.
So I would throw a lot of things in together, add a lot of beaten eggs and grated cheese. And essentially the point of that was, the point of it was to be interesting and delicious for the day, for the time. Always, by the way, always sunflower seeds. But the point of it was something to swap in for the meat at the center of the plate.
Right.
And now I'm not so much about the center of the plate. I'm about the kind of collaboration of things that make up a kind of, a plate that's a combination of things that complement one another rather than get all combined into a casserole.
Well, and when I think of it, and when I think of some of the recipes that are in the book, there's a gazpacho that has the colors, the vibrant colors. You don't destroy the vegetables with your recipes. I wouldn't expect that you would, but forgive me, but while I was reading it and then looking at I'm like, oh my gosh, look at the brightness, look at the deliciousness, look at the beauty of these moments in time.
Right, and there are very minor and very accessible techniques. They're so minor that I almost don't even want to use the word technique because that sometimes scares people off. There are ways you can make a vegetable sparkle just by paying attention to detail. For example, knowing that you need some kind of acid to sparkle up the asparagus.
Okay.
Either vinegar or some kind of citrus juice. But you also know that if you add that acid too soon, it'll leach out the green color, but you want the bright green color. You also want the bright flavor. Meanwhile, you also want the asparagus marinated. So I marinated in an oil that has been spiked with ginger and garlic, and salt and pepper. And the asparagus kind of bathes in that. Not a lot of it, just enough to coat it. And shortly before serving, we'll put in a little bit of vinegar to sparkle it up. And then to add one extra element, I have a soy caramel, where I've reduced some soy with a little bit of agave and lemon and more ginger. But it's the timing of those different ingredients that make all the difference, makes all the difference in the color, the sparkle. It's just that kind of attention. It's not so much that you need a whole new set of skills. You just need a whole set of timing.
And I guess the respect for the vegetable itself. You mentioned a couple of the items. There's a soya. There are a couple of things that you mentioned when you were talking about that asparagus recipe, but you have within the book recipes for those things and comments about. Agave syrup is a prime example. It's not something that 5 years ago a lot of people who are not Latino would consider.
Right.
It's just because it wasn't considered. It wasn't there, like a fine olive oil a number of years ago as well. But you can find agaves. I was at Starbucks. Somebody said, I have a sore throat. What should I do? And the young woman behind, she's like, oh, I have some agave syrup. You should have some tea with a bit of agave syrup and it'll be very soothing. And I thought, how sweet is that? Like, this is boom. And I'm like, I'm reading this book by Molly Katzen, and there's agave syrup as mentioned as one of the alternative
choices,
sweeteners,
definitely.
one of the concepts to go along with. Where do you go to? Where would you suggest a home chef go to find the best of the best ingredients?
Well, I live in the East Bay, and I am just a sucker for Monterey Market. That's my passion, and I'm kind of there too much. That's my substance, is Monterey Market. I love the farmers markets. And I love the little mom and pop shops where they have a lot of different kinds of vinegar. The pasta shop is one of those that I just love. But you don't have to spend a lot of money. Just a few choice ingredients that you can keep in your cupboard, like a good, choice of maybe 3 or 4 really nice vinegars and your good olive oil. I use olive oil so much. I don't, not in quantity, but just in regularity. These days, it's kind of become just such an essential piece of my cooking. Whereas when I first started writing the Moosewood Cookbook, we didn't even designate which kind of oil. It was just kind of oil, or butter. It was attention to these types of detail. It's not a fussiness. It's just a kind of.
But it is a
specificity,
and it is a flavor as well.
Yes.
Olive oil. I remember the olive oil that would sit on the back of the stove and could be there for 3 years, and it tasted bitter. And if you put it on eggs, it would be nasty and rancid. But that is then. And if you find beautiful olive oil from Sonoma at the Olive Press or something, or any of these great purveyors, Lorenzo Petroni, I had lunch with him the other day at the North Beach, and he put a little bit of olive oil. It was on the carpaccio. Well, we were eating meat, but on the beans that we had, and it you could taste it and you wanted to.
One of the things I never heard of when I first started cooking was the idea of finishing with an oil.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's just standard, but there weren't the oils to finish with.
Right.
It wasn't part of it. And also there was that whole, thank God it's over, that whole craze of non-fat, low-fat. I mean, it's so hard to make anything taste good. But now, instead of beating eggs and mixing them into some grains and some vegetables and making a melange that I'll then bake and hope will come out in a square, I'll keep all those elements separate, and there'll be a simple little pilaf with maybe sparkled up with some fresh herbs, minced feathered herbs. And then there'll be a legume like a chickpea or lentil dish, really simple, 3-ingredient, 4-ingredient dish, several different vegetables. I have a whole chapter in the book called Cozy Mashes, where, it's just the polar opposite of those.
Parsnips and rutabagas.
And celery root and cauliflower and broccoli. And it's just, you can eat them with a spoon. You can spread them thickly on toast, and then you can add a crunchy topping. I'm so into texture. You can make those angel wing thin onion rings where you mandolin the onions or just cut them very, very thin, and light dusting of salted flour and saute them in hot oil.
But we love that.
So crisp.
We love that. We love the crunch.
But the crunch can go on top of the cozy mash, and the cozy mash can go on toast. Or you can put the cozy mash down as a bed and put grilled vegetables on top that are slightly al dente, and then something crunchy on top. And what I've done is I've broken things into components so that it's a kind of a modular plate. And the basic plate, in many cases in this book, although I don't use a capital V on this word as vegan, so it's all plant. It's a plant-based plate, so that people who are vegan or vegetarian or who love meat maybe had it last night and might have it 2 nights from now, but really love their vegetarian plates, which is more and more people.
Right.
Everyone can sit down together and have the same basic plate. And somebody who really wants their, piece of egg on top, their kind of little touch. Eggs are so big right now. But instead of it being a beaten egg in the grain, it'll be an egg that's fried in olive oil and coated very lightly with breadcrumbs.
And a good egg.
And
a delicious egg that looks like sunshine. I'm speaking with Molly Katzen, and we're geeking out about food. She's the James Beard Award-winning author and teacher. She has had experience with many different lives within that life as well, including the Food Literacy Project, working with Harvard and working with people about, what is on the plate itself. Her book is The Heart of the Plate. We'll be talking with Molly just ahead. Hey, welcome back to Dining Around. I have Molly Katzen here in studio with me. We're chatting about her book, The Heart of the Plate, Vegetarian Recipes for a New Generation. I have friends. Oh, by the way, you can meet Molly Katzen here in the San Francisco Bay Area and visit Molly, Mollie, Katzen, KATZEN.com. That's her website. There are events with Book Passage. There's one at Greens on October the 18th. There's an event at the Commonwealth Club. We'll give you some more information about that just ahead. But so many of my friends, they work at Apple and they work at Google and they work at Facebook and they work at all of these places. And there's this great multiculturalism that happens. And then you have dinner parties at your house and you're like, you want to be careful, or at least, let's say, inclusive of what you're going to cook so that everybody has a good time and there's something for everybody to dine as well. I love some of these items that you have in the book. There's like a buttermilk corn cake recipe in the book, and there's another one. Here I am going off the mic because I'm so excited about them. There's a mushroom popover pie. Like, what is that all about?
Oh, it's so much fun. That one is, it's really easy for beginners. You cook up a bunch of mushrooms. And then you take them out, cook them, really delicious, like a little garlic, a little onion, and get them all flavory, and then get them out of the pan.
And
then
don't forget, make sure there's enough room.
Make sure there's enough room. I use the same pan. I give them a little rest in a bowl, and then I make just a plain old popover batter, eggs, milk, and flour, and then I combine them in the pan. I put the mushrooms back in, pour the batter on top. It goes in the oven, just a cast iron pan.
Right.
Goes straight in the oven. Comes out, you cut it in wedges, which is why it's called a pie, no crust. It's just one big puffy popover filled with mushrooms, savory. It's so much fun. And those corn cakes you mentioned, the buttermilk corn cakes, they're called fully loaded buttermilk corn cakes. Why? Because they're full of black beans and bell peppers. They're savory. So they're like little corn souffles. They're so good.
I think you
with
could
corn. You can add real corn
because so many of us so many of us, when we have people over to our houses, we spend time in the kitchen. You could like make those up. You can make the batter and get it all ready in advance, but you could make those up as little appetizers. People can chit chat and here, have one of these. Isn't this delicious? People don't mind waiting for them, and they're nice and hot and crispy and that kind of deliciousness that goes along with it. And maybe, I don't know, a little bit of honey or something like that on the side.
Well, you could also make a little chipotle cream. You could
there you
add
go.
some, the canned chipotles that come in an adobo sauce and just mix that with some sour cream. Let it ripen for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. And you get this wonderful, creamy, smoky, hot kind of creamy stuff to put on top of the cakes. And make the cakes mini. You can make them small too.
Right. And then it's like a blini or something like that. But it's not. It's just like a little deliciousness.
It's a fully loaded corn cake. And one of the things that's really nice about the plant food, talk about your friends from different backgrounds having dinner parties. You make a basic plate that everyone likes, and then people can add in things that they like. Keep the cheese separate, and people can add cheese in if they want, or put just a little bit on top. Go for a flavorful cheese, or have it on the side, or have it be its own course. I just love the modular thing, and I love the DIY. If you put things out, so people can assemble their own plates. I also have some really fun crispy toppings. We were talking about the crispy.
With the crispy crunchy.
Yeah, but you can make crispy crunchy chickpeas.
Okay.
If you just soak them, as you would if you were going to cook them, but instead of boiling them up after you soak them, you give them a rough chop in the food processor.
Okay.
And then fry them in hot olive oil, just unboiled, soaked,
Really?
chopped, and fried with salt and pepper. And it's this chickpea crunchy crumble that you can top things with. And it's beautiful on top of grains. And people don't exactly know what it is, but they love it. You can do the same thing with lentils. You can. I love it. It surprised me.
It's delicious. Just eat it.
Just eat
Don't
it.
worry
Trust
about
me. You can do the same thing with soaking lentils and skipping the boiling. Just get them dry after you soak them, towel dry, and then toss them into hot oil, and you get little. I call them pastilles, crunchy lentils. It's so much fun, and these are all the modular. But I pay so much more attention to texture now. The soft against the sort of al dente against the crispy crunchy, and I love it.
But
it's
that's
so much fun.
It really is an evolution, though. It's an evolution from sort of a one pot in the oven to let's have all of these varying flavors, and the respect that you pay to the vegetables within the book, the fresh vegetables, the brightness, the character, the excitement, and let's face it, with all of these places that we have to shop and the farmers who grow them, you want to, I know it sounds kind of like kumbaya, but you want to give them respect because it's so exciting.
The thing is, Joel, it is the true kumbaya. That's the good kind. But it's so funny because people don't normally associate vegetarian cuisine with playfulness.
Right.
And joy. It's usually, okay, beige and dutiful and will make you a better person, but not necessarily a fun time. But what I'm aiming for is a fun time.
Yeah,
and it's not a lot of work. I mean, I'm talking about, composite plates with lots of little elements, but each one has 3, 4, 5 ingredients max.
And a conversation starter as well. I'm speaking with Molly Katzen. We'll talk more with Molly just ahead. Hey, welcome back to Dining Around. I have Molly Katzen here in studio with me. Her new book is The Heart of the Plate. It's available now. There are events you can join in with. There's an event on October the 29th, which happens to be my birthday, in Lafayette with the Commonwealth Club. It happens at 6:30 p.m. If you visit the Commonwealth Club in Lafayette's page, you can find out more about that, make a reservation. There's an event with Book Passage at Green's Restaurant's in San Francisco. It's at Fort Mason Place. And Annie Somerville is the executive chef, and it's a beautiful restaurant with a great view, and you'll have a great time there, won't you?
Annie and I are collaborating on the menu.
Oh, great!
It's her interpretation of some recipes from the Heart of the Plate, so that'll be really fun. It's going to be lunch.
It'll be great.
On Friday.
I went. I had that friend Helen come to our house, and I went over to the restaurant and had them make up a menu item for us because I just didn't want to disappoint Helen. She thought that was so funny, and he's like, "Really, Joel? You can make her something delicious. I know you can." I'm like, "I know, but I'm freaking out." And then everybody wanted it, so it was great. It was totally delicious. But she's a great chef. So I want to ask you a little bit about the grains. We only have a few minutes left, but one of the things that you talk about within the book is, one of the things you mention are these different kinds of grains. And I realized as you go through them, I mean, I know farro isn't something that is sort of esoteric and out there, but if you think of those sorts of things that are available now, they're relatively recent in common culture, are they not?
Yeah, I mean,
or at least in my culture.
Well, I mean, some of them are like farro. They're different iterations of farro, the emmer wheat. It's It's a wheat. It's a wheat berry that has different strains, but it's really old. It's an ancient grain, as is barley, as is quinoa, which almost completely disappeared for a while and has been brought back. And these are wonderful things to know how to cook. Every one of them just needs some amount of time and some hot water simmering. And then you've got a basic building. I don't know how to, it doesn't sound very sexy, but you have this beautiful kind of staple to a plant-based meal. And once the grain is cooked, it just accepts so many different flavors, sauteed allium of some sort or other, or several onion and garlic and herbs. And you can add toasted nuts. And I mean, the other thing that's so beautiful is that you can stuff vegetables with pilafs. And that's a very easy way to make a lovely little, if you do want an entree, roasted acorn squash half, a seared half of a bell pepper, with even just some greened up rice. That's the other thing I love to do my basic rice is the brown basmati, but I love to take it in different color directions. So
I saw a red rice in the book.
There's a red rice. Well, that actually is red rice. It's either the Wihani rice from the Lundberg brothers or the Bhutanese red rice. But I have an orange rice, which is really brown basmati that's been absolutely inundated with sauteed orange bell pepper and sauteed roasted or sauteed butternut squash, and then garnished with papaya. And I play with the different combinations of beans and rice, the classic legume with the grain. So that gets black rice or black beans with it, and it's like a Halloween play.
Oh, Molly, thank you so much for being here today.
Well, thank you too.
I really appreciate it. From the colors and on the plate and the beauty of the vegetables and the eggs and everything else. The book is The Heart of the Plate. It's beautiful. It's significant. It's vegetarian recipes for a new generation. Molly Katzen, mollykatzen.com. Available now. Check her out at Greens on the 18th and in Lafayette on the 29th. Up next, we'll talk a little chili.